complete your point.
Okay, sir. I was saying that the other staff may not have the necessary requirements to undertake this audit because, first of all, this is their second year. However, it was stated that the accounting, their internal procedures and their accounting systems were changed drastically, so, and they had to, and making some of the things very difficult. So they had to request certain additional services. So this will serves as an impediment towards the audit process.
Fantastic. So what you need to know here is that they are in the second year in this audit. And 2, they are going to audit this large company, so they seem to be a bit inexperienced. So we do not know we question whether they have the necessary staff and skills to undertake this work. Then another thing is that, I'll draw your attention to is, again, always going back to the threats. When we're explaining self-interest threats, we explain it in relation to whether you have any financial or any other form of interest, right? So when they accept, in case they decide to accept additional work, it will result in additional fees for CASIM, right? But the code of ethics too is telling us that an auditor should not, the fee income that an auditor receives from one client should not exceed 15%. Remember the 15% rule? So that also poses some form of risk in that regard. And we need to be sure that we don't breach those guidelines. So that's more of a self-interest threat. I hope I'm clear. Is it clear?
Yes, please.
Another thing that you might also have, so you see how those threats, they help. That's what I'm saying. If you write it somewhere, you chew it, and those threats are very, very helpful. There's also another issue that you might have ignored, and the issue is there's also a possibility of a self-review threat here. So in the case, I think they were talking about implementing some new control systems. Hamza. Right? If I'm right, if anyone can help me point to it rather than reading. It should be somewhere.
In the paragraph you have just met with the finance director, additional services in terms of review and implementation of control systems have been requested.
So you see, for those who are doing strategic case study, it's the same way you analyze these things. Sentence by sentence, you should get the issues. Once you have the framework in place, you know the threats. So once they are getting this, they are trying to get this additional work to implement new control systems. It's also possible that they may be auditing these same systems as part of the statutory audit. And so this creates a self-review threat, right? So if I implemented a system and they say I should come and audit it, definitely I'll give myself a 10/10. So that also raises a risk there. Then even accepting non-audit work also raises ethical issues, as we already indicated. Ethical issues. The emphasis on ethical issues. So these are some of the issues that I see at the moment. I see at the moment. Another thing too is that one of the things you need to know is that in the first paragraph, they usually describe the company. So if you see something like Mobile Phone Limited is a large communication group which operates from several locations around the world. It has said that they were going to expand their operations, blah, blah, blah. It means that this is a growing company, growing company. But this is a growing company that seems to have poor controls, A growing company that has poor controls, it means that there's a huge risk there. There's a huge risk there, and Kasim Hamza should, focus on this by, having the relevant resources and stuff to be able to appropriately assess them in terms of auditing. I hope that was clear. I think we raised about 4 or 5 issues. So you basically, what you do here is you state your point and you explain. If you understand the threats, this 20 marks should be easy for you. If you know the threats, self-interest, self-review, all of those things, it should be very, very easy for you. Let's move on to question 2. This question,
okay.
Sorry, please hold on for me. So this question, what do you guys think? Okay, let's just take a shot at it. We haven't done everything, but it's all part of the learning process. So please, let's go.
You are a manager in Sustainability Ghana, an independent member of Sustainability International, a global firm of chartered certified accountants. You are responsible for evaluating proposed engagement and for recommending to a team of partners whether or not an engagement should be accepted by your firm. Environmental Care Ghana, a listed company, is an existing audit client and is an international energy producing company with a global network including 220 countries and 300,000 employees. The company offers electricity using renewable resources to individual and corporate customers, as well as storage and logistical services. Environmental Care Ghana takes its corporate social responsibility seriously and publishes social and environmental key performance indicators in a sustainability report, which is published with the financial statement in the annual report, partly in response to requests from shareholders and pressure groups. Environmental Care Ghana's management has decided that in the forthcoming annual reports, the KPIs should be accompanied by an independent assurance report. An approach has been made to your firm to provide this report in addition to the audits. To help in your evaluation of this potential engagement, you have been given an extract from the draft sustainability report containing some of the KPIs published by Environmental Care Ghana. In total, 25 environmental KPIs and 50 social KPIs are disclosed.
Okay, please continue for us.
So the extract from sustainability reports year ended 31st December 2018 and then 31st December 2017. We have the draft and the actual. Then we have CO2 emissions, million tons, energy use, million kilowatt hours, charitable donations, number of serious accidents in the workplace, average annual expenditure on training per employee. You have also had a meeting with Kofi Ghana the manager responsible for the audit of Environmental Care Ghana, and notes of the meeting are given below. Notes from meeting with Audit Manager Kofi Ghana. Sustainability Ghana has audited Environmental Care Ghana for 3 years, and it is a major audit client of the firm. Due to its global presence and recent listing on 2 major stock exchanges, the audit is managed from the airport office, which is also the location of the global headquarters of Environmental Care Ghana. The audit work is nearly complete, and the annual report is to be published in about 4 weeks, in time for the company's meeting, scheduled for 31st January 2019. No work has been done on the KPIs other than review them for consistency, as we would with any other information issued with the financial statements. The KPIs are produced for Environmental Care Ghana's Sustainability Department, located in Fartown. There has been no visit to Environmental Care Ghana's offices in Fartown, as it is in a remote location overseas, and the department based there are not relevant to the audit. Audit procedures were performed on the charitable donations, as disclosed in a note to the financial statements, and our evidence indicates that there have been donations of 9 million Ghana cedi this year, which is the amount disclosed in the notes. However, the draft KPI has a different figure of 10.5 million Ghana cedi, and this is the figure highlighted in the draft chairman statement, as well as the draft sustainability reports. 9 million Ghana cedi is material to the financial statements. Your firm has recently established a sustainability reporting assurance team based at the airport office. And if the engagement to report on the sustainability report is accepted, it will be performed by members of that team who will not be involved with the audit. Required: A, identify and explain the matters to be evaluated in making the acceptance decision to perform an assurance engagement on the sustainability report of Environmental Care Ghana. B, recommend procedures
Okay,
that could be used.
Let's stop at A. Let's take it.
Okay.
It's a lot. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So let's stop at A. Let's see what A is saying. Let's see what A is saying. A says, identify and explain the matters to be evaluated in making the acceptance decision. So what are some of the things we look out for before accepting, an engagement? Before I even come in, let's all discuss this. If you have any thoughts, you can share it. You can share it with us.
Okay, so before accepting the engagement, an audit engagement, if you are a new auditor, you are supposed to seek advice, or you're supposed to seek advice from the previous auditor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please. So that is one of the things you have to look at as when accepting an engagement.
Okay, that's a good one. Any other thoughts?
And I also think that you should also check to see if you have the level of expertise and the competent staff to perform the audit.
Fantastic. My students are doing well. Any other thoughts? That's a good one. Any other thoughts?
So can you look at things that may affect, or things that may bring issues in terms of ethical issues such as your independence and so on.
Yes, you need to figure out those things out.
And so what of looking at the scope of the work to be performed?
Fantastic. So if before going into any audit, it's like you are going for a party and you go and see a tailor, sew a dress for me, right? Both of you have to have expectations of what kind of dress, is it fitting or you are wearing, or whatever kind of dress that you want. So in the same way, the auditor, must determine like what is the scope of the audit, what are the requirements, both from the client side and my side, what is the scope of the audit going to be like? And then you go ahead, before you make any decision whether to accept the audit or not. So that's a very, very good one. Any other thoughts?
You can also do an independent assessment.
Okay. Yes. You have to do an independent assessment as well. That's also a good one. You also have to know the client's requirements. You also have to know the client's requirements. So if you do an independent assessment, you might, come up with some threats. Another thing I wanted to mention is, I think someone already mentioned, somebody already mentioned competence. So I think that's fine on that level. I think that's fine. So how many have you mentioned so far? So we need to, so the way they've given the marks, another thing you should also know is how they've given the marks. The way they've given the marks, they've given 14 marks. So they expect you to mention 7 points for 2 marks each. So I think we've mentioned competence, independence,
scope of work.
Scope of work. I'm trying to find out if we've mentioned 7, so that I add some.
We have I have 5 here.
Okay. So another thing you also need to check out is that another thing you need to check out is the integrity of the people. That's one key. Please keep that thing in mind when it comes to accepting an engagement. You don't want to enter into an engagement with some fishy client or some fraudulent client. So integrity is key. Integrity is key. So that's one thing. And integrity, you can explain it, you can define it, and then talk about how it relates to the case that we've talked about here. Another thing that they also look at is the fees and whether it will even be profitable for you to accept this engagement, right? So the fees, like before you go into anything, you check the money. Okay, is the money good? So there are a lot of them, but I think we've mentioned the key thing. So if you get the points, then you're able to explain it. Just briefly, you get 2 marks for it. And 7 times 2, you get your 14. Easy marks. Easy marks. But I don't want you to forget integrity. Integrity of management of that client. Okay, let's move on to B.
B, recommend procedures that could be used to verify the following draft KPIs. I, the number of serious accidents in the workplace. And II, the average annual expenditure on training per employee.
Okay, so let's take the first one. the number of serious accidents in the workplace. You know, what kind of procedures would you use to verify these KPIs? If you want to check, okay, how many serious accidents how many serious accidents occurred in this workplace? What are some of the procedures you can use to check that?
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
Assuming that the company has workplace accident insurance,
Fantastic.
they can seek to get external information from the insurance company to know the number of staff as well as the type of accidents they had within the organization.
Fantastic. You guys are doing well. So insurance, that's a good way to get it. So once you've mentioned insurance, let me mention the legal side, because sometimes when there's a serious accident, people will take you to court. People will take you to court. So if you review any communications with legal advisors, it can give you an indication of the legal action being taken by some of these people who suffered serious accidents as well. So insurance, the legal side of things as well. These procedures help you to verify, these KPIs. Any other thoughts? So you see, a lot of this advanced audits, it is more of, how do I even say it? It's more of practical things, right? That's why, I don't want you to be chewing and pouring. It's more of practical things, everyday things that, it's quite easy to pass. So that's why I'm not surprised that the pass rates are that high compared to others, like maybe strategy and co. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts?
So is it possible to?
Okay, go ahead.
Is it possible to compare the staff medical expense in case they have medical, allowance and medical expenses for such things? You compare the previous year figure to the expense and see if there's an increase or a decrease in the medical expenses, which will give you an idea of the number of serious accidents within the organization.
Okay, that's also a good one. Another thing you can also use to check is health and safety visits, right? When there's a serious accident, you see the health and safety team, which is usually a part of HR in a lot of organizations. They'll rush to the place. And the health and safety team will also have a log, will also take record of that. So health and safety visits can also be an indicator. Another way you can also check that is through, some companies will have what we call an accidents logbook. An accidents logbook where they log in accidents. So whoever it is, maybe the manager on site, when there's a serious accident, he has a responsibility to log it. And you can also check from that as well. So I think we've given, more than three. So, or someone wants to add something? Okay, now let's move on to II, the average annual expenditure on training per employee. How can you tell the average annual expenditure on training per employee? How can you tell that?
Okay, so let me give from my where I work point of view.
Okay.
When they're having training sessions and they organize sessions or training for the staff, they have this attendance sheet, which all staff which were present will sign. So you can compare the total figure to the number of staff that were trained within the organization using the attendance.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay. Any other thoughts before I come in? I'm just trying to make this as conversational as possible, because as your colleagues are also mentioning stuff, it also helps for you to remember what's going on,
Mhm.
Otherwise, I could just come and lecture. It won't help you. If I come and just talk, give you answers and go, it's not going to stick, because I know that for a lot of people, no matter how I say, read the book, solve the past questions, they will not do it. I've been a student, like we are all students, so we know that we are busy. So the lecturer will say, oh, go and learn. No, it won't happen to be last minute. So it's these little things that, oh, you remember, because it's a discussion, So that's why I'm doing this. I could have just talked and just leave. But if anyone has any thoughts, I mean, if you are also shy to speak, you can write it. But I'll also give maybe about 3 additional ones on how to check this out. You can also, another way to check this out is you can compare. We are talking about indications here, right? Or how to verify this. So you can also look at the approved training budget. You can look at the approved training budget, and that can give you an idea. Can you please mute your microphone, please, whoever that is? Another thing you can also do is you can compare training spent, right? The amount spent on training to the cash book, right? Because once you spend something on training, you have to pay out in cash. So you can use that to verify. I hope that's clear.
So please, can you explain further? Because you're saying compare actual with the cash book. I'm not getting that point.
No, I'm saying the training spent, the total amount spent on training programs, right?
Yes. As in the actual amount spent.
Yes.
Okay.
The total amount spent on training programs. You can agree that total amount that is spent on training programs to what's in the cash book on the bank statement.
Okay.
I don't know if is it clear or it's not clear. If it's not clear, I can explain it.
Okay.
Sir, please explain further.
Okay.
Yes.
So in organizations, right? HR is in charge of training, right? So HR will have a list of the trainings they've done and how much it's cost them. Because even to approve a training spend, it will have to go through finance, but HR must bring that request to finance. So HR keeps tabs on the total amount that is spent on training. And then they make that request to finance. So finance also knows. So finance would then approve whatever it is based on if it's in the budget or not. And then they can pay out, or fund the training. But when they fund the training, obviously it will hit the cash book or it will hit the bank. Right? Am I right or I'm not right?
Yeah.
You're right.
Yes.
Yes, so you're right.
So you can agree that amount to the cash book. It's like it's just like you as a human being, right? So, or as an individual, right? You like if you are checking something, right? You are checking your finances, right? And you are not able to find the exact amount that you spent on maybe papaya within the month. You go into your bank statement, right? Or wherever you save, and you are able to do that reconciliation, here you're able to easily do that reconciliation, or you go into your cash book, if you prepare a cash book, you're able to, because it will mean that you've taken that amount of cash from your pocket. I don't know if I'm making sense. If I'm not making sense, just let me know. Am I making sense? Or it's still difficult to understand?
I think you should.
It's a bit difficult for me because if we look at the actual amount spent and then what's reflected in the cash book, I'm thinking around it as to what could happen that there will be a disparity. I'm trying to figure out what could happen that the two will not agree, because definitely if whatever we have recorded in our cash book or whatever, for instance, how are you able to determine that this is the actual amount? Because definitely it is going to be linked to the cash book. That's how I'm finding it difficult to get the understanding.
Yeah, say you're using it to verify.
Yeah.
So if you want to check out the average annual expenditure on training per employee, you can simply go to the cash book.
Yes.
And it will be labeled as training expenditure, January 2021, X amount. Then you verify your annual expenditure on training. Or that doesn't make sense.
I get it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it still doesn't make sense. I don't know if maybe I'm explaining it to. Does it make sense?
Yes, I think it does.
Yeah,
Basically to.
Because everything is in your cash book or in your bank statement, right?
Yes,
everything is reflected there. Once you paid out something in cash, it should be there. It should be, your bank should reflect it. So if I want to identify my training expenditure, I can quickly go to my bank statement and my cash book, and I'll see it there nicely. Except someone is doing Kululu, which is a different conversation. But the angle I was trying to bring to it was that there are certain organizations, the HR people also keep a tab, because in the HR department, they also have someone who tries to monitor, because they also know their budget. So they try to monitor the total spend in relation to the budget that they have, So that's why I was trying to bring that angle as well. I hope it makes sense. Can I move on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Okay, question 3.
It makes sense to me now.
GGC Co Limited specializes in manufacturing equipment, which can help to reduce toxic emission in the production of chemicals. The company has grown rapidly over the past 8 years, and this is partly due to the warranties that the company gives to its customers. It guarantees its products for 5 years, and if problems arise during this period, it undertakes to fix them or provide a replacement. You are the manager responsible for the audit of GGCL, and you are performing the final review stage of the audit and have come across the following issues. Receivable balance owing from Insurer Co Limited. GGCL has a material receivable balance owed by its customer, Insurer Co Limited. During the year-end audits, your team reviewed the aging of this balance and found that no payment has been received from Insurer Co Limited for over 6 months. GGCL would not allow this balance to be secularized. Instead, Management has assured your team that they will provide a written representation confirming that the balance is recoverable. Warranty provision. The warranty provision included within the statement of financial position is material. The audit team has performed testing over the calculations and assumptions which are consistent with prior years. The team has requested a written representation from management confirming that the basis and amount of the provision are reasonable. Management is yet to confirm acceptance of this representation. Required. A. Describe the audit procedures required in respect of accounting estimates. B. For each of the two issues above, I. Discuss the appropriateness of written representations as a form of audit evidence. And II. Describe additional procedures the auditor should now perform in order to reach a conclusion on the balance to be included in the financial statements.
Okay. So it's talking about audit procedures here. Audit procedures. I don't think we've launched into that yet. But please write these procedures down. This is like the threats. This one is a must know going into the exam. You know, these are the general audit procedures that we have. So number one is inquiry. Inquiry, INQUIRY. We'll treat it later. We haven't gotten there. I don't think we have gotten there.